Comparison is Killing Me Slowly by Natasha Romanov Official, A Shade of Green. Chapter 2. Some Concerned Uncle with a Job to Do. Peter had completely forgotten he was wearing the Spider-Man suit. He had literally just put the mask back on less than a minute ago, and he had already forgotten. Well, excuse him for being deep in thought after being asked to go on a dangerous mission halfway across the country. How was he going to convince Tony to let him go on that mission? The doors opened and he dragged himself through the common room into the kitchen. He was vaguely aware of the loud conversation in the common room, and he did hear someone loudly spit out their drink, but he really honestly didn't realise it was about him. He sat down on the kitchen table and absent-mindedly reached up to pull off his mask. Spider-Man?" an urgent voice asked from the other room. Peter pulled his hands away from the mask and looked up. Why didn't they just call him Peter? His name was Peter. Were they just tired of pretending that Peter was who they cared about and not Spider-Man? He stared blankly at Tony, who was looking from Spider-Man to the Avengers, and Harley. Multiple of the Avengers had nervous expressions on their faces as they stared him down. What? Was he not supposed to be here? What are you doing here? Tony asked nervously. Oh, so now he was getting kicked out of his own house. Peter really thought that most of his anxiety over being around the Avengers was based on insecurities, not facts. What? Am I not supposed to be here? Peter asked flatly, holding his hands out in a small shrug. No, just... Tony was making a weird expression now. We weren't expecting Spider-Man to drop in tonight. He put emphasis on Spider-Man, trying to get Peter to realise that he was the masked, web-slinging vigilante right now. He knew the kid was just tired, and wouldn't want Harley to realise his other identity. At least, not without it being on his terms. Oh yeah, Peter replied, and Tony could tell from the sarcastic voice that Peter had not received the message. Well, you know how it is. Ran out of web fluid and fell off a 2-storey building. Just thought I'd come by and pick up some more web formula while I was in the area. Peter glanced at all of the Avengers as they reacted, and his eyes landed on Harley. Oh shit. You what now? Tony asked, his eyes widening. Oh gosh. If he thought Peter was injured, he would throw caution to the winds and not give a damn if Harley found out who he was. Or at least, he used to. Maybe things had changed. It was a joke, Tony. Relax. Peter answered mechanically, trying to make the man calm down. Tony raised his eyebrows, a disbelieving look crossing his features. Yeah, you sure? Well, if your web shooters are messed up or something, Peter can fix them. Peter does all your tech right. Hey, Peter! Harley called. He's just trying to help. But Peter could not convince himself right now, not while his anxiety was so high, while the world was slightly spinning and it was too bright and too loud. No, it was a joke, Peter said over all the noise. I was just dropping by to see how everyone was after the mission. I realise I'm a month late, but I've been kinda busy. He gave a quick look over all the Avengers and continued. Okay, great. All limbs are still attached. That means I can head out with a clear head. Okay, see you guys. Tony didn't stop the kid as he hurried away. He must have finally realised his mistake. Had he actually fallen off a building? He would have to check later. Friday, open the window. Everyone spun around to see Peter jump out an open window. Holy shit, does that happen often? Harley asked. Bucky shook his head, trying not to smile. Weirdly enough, yeah. Need to make some protocol to get him to use the damn door, Tony grumbled. Everyone was too invested in their conversation to notice that instead of swinging away, Spider-Man had frantically climbed up the side of the building and back inside through a higher window. Where's Peter? Spider-Man probably should have asked him for more web fluid, even if he didn't run out, Harley said. Peter! He called again. A couple of Avengers glanced at each other, sharing knowing looks. Pepper stood up and patted his shoulder. He might have gone to bed early, Harles. Maybe we should leave him alone. There was suddenly thudding on the stairs, and Peter suddenly appeared at the bottom in his pyjamas, pretending to be very tired. What? Is there an emergency or something? No, Spider-Man just came, and I thought you'd want to see him, Harley said, a slightly guilty look on his face as he realised he had just woken Peter up. Or thought he had. Oh, is he gone? Peter made a show of looking around the room, even craning his neck up to look up at the ceiling. No, he just left. Sorry for waking you up. Peter hated how genuine Harley was. He hated that he hated it too. He really wished everything weren't so complicated, that they could really get along if being around him didn't mean being ignored. You're fine, Peter said, and turned back around to go upstairs. Whoa, Pete, where are you going? Tony asked, going to stand beside him. Peter winced as his ankle flared painfully, and he reluctantly turned around to face Tony. Bed, he answered simply. Why don't you stay down here with us? We were going to watch a movie together. Tony looked hopefully at Peter, putting a hand on his son's shoulder. Maybe Tony really did want him to stay. No, he's just putting on a big show. It doesn't mean anything. Peter really hated these intrusive thoughts, hated how they aimed right for the gut and made their mark every time. But in the end, he listened to them and turned Tony down. I'm tired. I just want to go to bed, Peter said softly, pulling away from Tony. Tony looked at him with concern. His kid was never the first to pull away from physical contact, and he had never been too tired for movie night, especially because movie night always meant that Peter cuddled up at Tony's side and fell asleep anyway. Peter, what's going on? He asked quietly. What? I just want to get some sleep. I didn't get much last night. Tony winced. Had Peter's nightmares been particularly bad, or was it just an excuse? He never could tell, and he hated it. Come on, Bambino, you can always fall asleep during the movie with me. You always do anyway. Nobody will care, he said quietly, trying not to reach out for his kid again. It's fine, Tony. Just enjoy yourself. Hang out with Harley. He'll keep you company. Peter pulled away and headed back up the stairs. Right, but don't think I'm not coming up to check on you later, Tony called up the stairs. What was up with his kid? Peter laid back in his bed for hours, trying to decide whether he should go on the mission, how he was going to get away from the tower, and whether he should tell Tony. He should probably tell Tony. Where was that guy, anyway? Hey, Fry, where's Tony? He whispered, just in case his father was outside and overheard. Everyone has gone to sleep in their rooms, Friday answered, too matter-of-factly for Peter to believe Tony had actually programmed her to have emotions. Oh, Peter said. So, Tony had forgotten him again. A devious plan formed in his head. Just how long was it possible for everyone to forget him? Well, if he went on the mission, if they were all going to forget their favourite spider baby, then he was going to make sure it didn't go to waste. If he got back from the mission and nobody had noticed he was gone, then he would keep quiet about that mission, and maybe even be able to go on a bunch more. If they did notice, well, then that probably meant that they cared, or that Friday was a snitch. Peter pulled out his phone and texted the number Fury had given him. When's the soonest we can leave? Peter got a response almost immediately. Right now. Are you ready? Peter shot back another text. What do I need to bring? He waited, and even started to get worried when finally another text came through. Just your suit. We have the rest covered. Peter grinned and deleted the conversation and contact, then dropped his phone into a drawer in his desk. As he collected the Spider-Man suit, he began to give Friday instructions on what to do if people asked where he was. But don't get too outlandish, Fry. You can get really creative, but don't say I went to Japan or really anywhere. You know what? Maybe don't get too creative, actually. Just say I went to Ned's or went patrolling if they realise my room is empty. Or say that I'm in the bathroom or working on an important project if they call for me. Just never ever tell them where I really went, okay? All right, Peter, if that's what you want, the AI answered politely. It is. All right, I gotta go. Peter shoved his suit into a bag, threw it over his shoulder, and made the elevator take him down to the bottom floor. Fury stood waiting for him. Peter jumped. Whoa, you got here really fast. I'm always in the area, the man shrugged. Peter raised his eyebrows. Except for when I'm not, Fury added. Peter shook his head with a smile. Let's go before Friday changes her mind on keeping this secret. You just expect them not to notice that you're gone? Fury asked, leading the boy outside. Peter shrugged. Surprisingly, it's not that hard anymore. He slid into the passenger seat, oblivious to the concerned look on his uncle's face. Fury got into the car and started it, pulling away and driving into the city. What do you mean it isn't hard? You can never get a moment alone without all of them doting on you all the time. Yeah, well, they have 2 kids to dote on now. Clint's the only guy that understands how to give multiple kids attention at a time. Peter shrugged. Have you talked to Stark? Fury asked tentatively. You know if he realised he would fix it. I know, I just don't want to ruin Harley's time. He doesn't ever get to see Tony, and I live with him. It's selfish to steal any attention when I'll have them for the rest of forever. Peter sighed and added, and besides, I kind of want Tony to realise this on his own. I guess it's childish, but if he really cared, It doesn't matter, it's dumb. No, it's not, Peter. Fury could tell that the kid had been holding all of this in for a while now. When was the last time he had talked to Tony? Or Rhodey? Or Nat? Or Bucky? If Tony wasn't around, then one of those 3 always were. At least he was here now. You can talk to me, kid. I know. Thanks, Uncle Nick. He paused before turning to him with a grin. You know, I sure do have a lot of uncles. I feel like someone of your ranking should have a more original, official title. What do you mean? The agent was slightly taken aback by the sudden change of attitude, but he wasn't going to make Peter keep talking if he didn't want to. If the kid wanted to be happy for a minute, there was no way he was going to stop him. Someone with such an active moral compass like you, Fury snorted. What are you suggesting? From now on I'll be no longer calling you uncle. From now on you are... Peter gave a wicked grin before hiding it and saying, Saint Nick. What? Fury asked, swerving slightly. I'm nothing like Santa. Old Saint Nick it is. Peter pressed his lips firmly together. You little shit. Fury stopped the car outside of a small warehouse and shook Peter awake. Maybe he should have that kid's head checked out before he goes on the mission. The pair walked inside and looked to Fury for confirmation when he saw the plane. Where is this mission again? We're heading over to California. We need you to do some undercover work before the stealth job. Is that okay? We can always get someone else to do it. Peter shook his head. No, I'll do it. Who am I going undercover as? Adrian Vanderberg, the heir to Vanderberg Tech. Sounds pretentious. Oh, it is. Oh, great. Peter laughed nervously. Well, I hope you can pretend to be classy and suave. Peter shot him a look before adding quietly, This mission may not go as well as you've hoped. Fury laughed and led his nephew onto the plane. I'll be in your ear the whole time. I'll guide you through it. Peter shook his head. I don't know the first thing about being suave. Fury looked him up and down. Well, getting you a suit wouldn't be a bad start. Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this chapter. Have a lovely rest of your day.